الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, and youngsters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We welcome the holy month of Ramadan by reminding ourselves about the sanctity and the merits of this holy month and about the different dimensions of fasting as guided to us by the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Prophet and the Quran. And then we looked into the importance of the Quran in relation to the holy month of Ramadan, that fasting could have been prescribed in any month, but the month of Ramadan was chosen because of the revelation of Quran. And therefore, one of the most important activities we have in this holy month is to be able to engage with the Quran, how to recite it in an active way, slowly, in a measured tone, actively, interactively, reflectively, and trying to reform ourselves and transform ourselves. And then we looked into the distinction between the tafsir of the Quran, the tadabbur of the Quran, and we gave a few examples of some of the past messengers who came and how tadabbur on their history can show us lessons of how it applies to our lives. One of the prophets who has been mentioned frequently, historically in sequence, he would come after Prophet Nuh and Hud and Salih alayhi wassalam, and that is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So in Surah Mubarakah Safat, chapter 37, Allah praises Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. In Surah Safat, there is no mention of Prophet Hud or Prophet Salih. There is Nuh alayhi salam and then Ibrahim. So after the story of Nuh alayhi salam is mentioned, the conclusion is that Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. The greatest of the greetings and benedictions and salutations and respect be to Nuh alayhi salam. There is no other prophet who has been addressed by God in this way in the Quran. Yes, there are many salams given to different prophets, but this type of address is unique to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Fil alameen. In all times, in all places, till the end of time, salam on Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh is alive. Nuh has to be respected. And God is teaching us that we should respect him and honor him and take lessons from his mission. After Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is mention of Ibrahim. وَإِنَّ مِن شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ. One of the followers who came after Nuh alayhi salam, not amongst ordinary messengers. Ordinary messengers would have been Prophet Hud and Prophet Salih. Amongst the ulul azm of the messengers was Ibrahim alayhi salam. And then the story of Ibrahim continues in Surah Safat. This prophet is unique in that he's again mentioned frequently in the Quran in almost 25 different surahs, in almost 69 different verses, 69 times his name appears. And if we were to make a quick sweep through his history as mentioned in the Quran, we would discover certain major milestones in his lifetime. So basically his intellectual engagement and debate and argument with the worshippers of the stars, of the sun, of the moon. There's a long discussion mentioned in the Quran in Surah Mubarakah An'am. There is a long debate that he has with his uncle, or the Quran mentions Abihi Azar, his father. I'll explain to you the difference between Ab as a father and Ab as an uncle. That is mentioned in several surahs. A third milestone is his debate with the king of the time in Babylon. He was in Babylon to begin with, the Namrud. A fourth milestone is his planning and plotting, a positive plot for the sake of Tawheed, to fight against Shirk, to smash the idols in the temple when the idol worshippers left the city of Babylon and went out. That's mentioned in detail both in Surah Safat and in Surah Anbiya. And then after his sentencing, so a court case is made against him, and the court case is held in the temple where all the idols have been smashed. And then he wins the case, but he's the one who is arrested and prosecuted, and the sentence passed is that he has to be burnt alive. But then he escapes by Allah's miracle, and that is mentioned in Surah Anbiya. So the next phase is now he makes hijrat from Babylon and goes to Sham. In Sham also, he does his tabligh, and then Allah calls him to come to Arabia now and to rebuild the Kaaba. So there's a lot of mention about the story of the Kaaba being rebuilt by Ibrahim alayhi salam in Surah Baqarah, in Surah Hajj. And then in Surah Safat, the test he is given of his son Ismail alayhi salam, that vision and a dream is shown that he has to slaughter him. And then there is extensive discussion after Ibrahim and Ismail that the Hajj rituals have now been prescribed based on the Tawheedi experience of Ibrahim in his fight against Shirk. His whole life now has been embodied in Hajj. And that is discussed extensively in the Quran again. In Surah Mubarakah, Baqarah, the verses of Hajj appear, and of course in Surah Hajj and in Surah Ibrahim. Finally, the pinnacle is that he is designated to be the Imam. Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. So these are a few milestones in the life history of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So there are different surahs which mention his name and the verses related to him. Surah Baqarah, for example, ayah number 124 onwards. In Surah Ali Imran, in Surah Nisa, in Surah An'am, in Surah Tawbah. Tawbah I mentioned yesterday that Ad and Thamud are mentioned together to the munafiqeen, that beware, if you deliberately oppose the commands of God, beware of the fate that can befall you the way it befell the communities before you. Again, there's mention of him in Surah Hud and in Surah Yusuf. Yusuf alayhi salam mentions him, that he was my forefather. And in Surah Hijr, in Surah Nahl, in Surah Maryam, in Surah Anbiya, in Surah Hajj, in Surah Shu'ara, in Surah Ankabut, Surah Ahzab, Safat, Sad, Shura, Zariyat, Najm, Hadid, Surah Mumtahana, which has an important lesson for us. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ. There's an excellent model for you mu'mineen to follow in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. One particular aspect, inshallah, we will look into it. And finally, the last mention of this prophet is in Surah Mubarakah, A'la, fi suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. So this is the quick overview. Let's now zoom in into certain aspects of his life and see what we can learn. One important introductory remark about Prophet Ibrahim is that he has been introduced as the father, the spiritual father of the Muslims. مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمُ وَسَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. This whole endeavor in his life to fight against shirk, to establish tawheed, now he has been designated as a spiritual father, as a forefather who has to be emulated and followed. And he's the one who has labeled us as the submitters, the Muslims, sammakumul muslimin. So an overall description about his great spiritual qualities that qualified him therefore to be designated to this leadership position is mentioned, for example, in Surah Zukhruf, that in Surah An'am. Surah Zukhruf is about his confrontation with his father or uncle. In Surah An'am, ayah number 120, Allah says, Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan. Surely Ibrahim alayhi salam was not only a leader, he was an ummah. Ummah, one meaning of ummah is a leader, the one to be followed. But ummah could also mean Ibrahim alayhi salam was in a situation where the only person in the community who preached tawheed and who accepted tawheed and lived tawheed was Ibrahim. He was the only ummah. The rest of the ummah was the kufr or the shirk. Amazing model where if necessary you have to be the only one who stands up for tawheed. Or no, ummah means so great that one person represents 2 and 3 and 10, 100 and 1,000. So strong. All 10, 100,000 are silent. They may be internally accepting the truth. Externally, they are nincompoops, cowards. They don't want to show up. Ibrahim single-handedly represents the whole community. Ummatan qanitan lillah. What made him an ummah? Single-handedly, exclusively, qanitan lillah. He was always in a state of qunut. Qunut is to be submissively obedient to God in all levels and all aspects of life. Hanifan, and he was of pure faith, not contaminated by shirk. Walam yaku min al-mushrikeen. Never ever was he a member of the group of the mushriks. Shakiran li an'umih, and he was always grateful and thankful for all the blessings that Allah gave him. It's so important to be thankful that it qualifies a person to become a leader. Ijtabahu. Based on these 5 qualities, he became mujtaba. He became the chosen one by God. Because he was ummah, because he was qanit, because he was hanif, because he never did shirk, and because he did shukr. Therefore Allah raised him and chose him to become the leader. وَهَدَاهُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. And Allah then guided him step by step to success. Not only that, وَآتَيْنَاهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً. And we gave him plenty of blessings in the dunya. He became famous, he became the forefather of all the other so-called Abrahamic faiths. Both the people of the book, the Christians and the Jews, proudly say, he's our leader. And his family and progeny became muwahhids and famous. He's the builder or the rebuilder of Kaaba. A lot of hasana was given to Ibrahim alayhi salam. وَإِنَّهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ لَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Interesting is that on the Day of Judgment, yes, he will be amongst that elite group of the Salihin, the topmost virtuous, righteous people. In the dunya, he used to pray, Al-Hiqni bis-Salihin. Question, such a great leader, yet he was saying, I want to join yet a higher group of the Salihin. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Salam be on us in the salah and on these virtuous servants. Who are they? According to the Quran, there is a group which is even higher than that of Ibrahim alayhi salam. ثم, finally, chapter 6, ayah 123. ثم أوحينا إليك أن اتبع ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. O Prophet, now we are instructing you that you have to follow Ibrahim. Kwanini Hanifan. He never swerved and swayed and showed any inclination, forget about action, any respect in his heart for shirk, any cooperation, any admiration, any support for shirk. Hanifan وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Many people who follow scriptures claim Ibrahim is from us. But excuse me, if you are into shirk, Ibrahim was never ever into shirk from his beginning till the end. Sorry, I missed out something in that translation. I don't know if you picked it up. So the ayah says that ثُمَّ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ, and O Prophet, we did wahi to you, أَنِ اتَّبِعْ Ibrahim, you should follow Ibrahim. So, we thought the Prophet is the highest, and now he's being told you follow Ibrahim alayhi salam. So who's higher, the follower or the leader? I misinterpreted it. I don't know if you caught the slip. The ayah doesn't say, we did wahi to you, O Prophet, that you should follow Ibrahim. And ittabi' millata Ibrahim. The lifestyle of Tawheed that was brought to Ibrahim, you have to receive it and then you have to take it to the next high level. Not that you follow Ibrahim alayhi salam as a person. It's his teachings that were given to him. So this overall introduction of Ibrahim alayhi salam, now we can zoom in and focus into specifics, certain milestones in his life, and then see how we can learn lessons to apply it. One interesting debate. So if you look at the Quran, the first collection of intellectual, rational debates and arguments that are quoted are from Ibrahim alayhi salam. When he debates with his uncle, when he debates with Namrud, when he debates with the star worshippers and the moon worshippers and the sun worshippers. So one of them, and in fact some of the scholars believe that if you look at the human civilization, the first civilization that brought in rational debates and arguments and logic and philosophy, we're told is the Greek civilization. Socrates and Aristoteles and Plato, and then later on Roman scholars like Seneca and Aurelius and Epictetus and others. Question, where did they learn it from? Ibrahim alayhi salam, remember, he began in Babylon and then he made hijrah to Sham, and then he came to Arabia. This whole Middle Eastern region was covered by Ibrahim. And remember, Ibrahim shook the pillars of that state at that time. What he did in that temple, you think the news stayed in the temple? When he was arrested and was about to be hurled into the fire and he didn't die, you think it remained inside that small city? Or it spread all over? How come? What did he do? What did he say? How did he think? Look at the logical thinking. So I give you an example. Look at this logical debate that he has with Namrud. Namrud is a dictator ruling on the people, and he is dictating to them how you should think and accept my thinking. Whether it's logical or not, people did not challenge. Ibrahim alayhi salam stands up and challenges. Alam tara, Surah Mubarak Baqarah, ayah 258. Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahima fi rabbihi. O Prophet, consider the story of that person who came and argued and debated with Ibrahim about who should be the Rabb, not the creator. They believed, yes, there is a creator who created the heavens and the earth, but who should be the governor on the earth? Who is the one who controls my life? Who can give me success in my life? Who can protect me from disasters? That's where idol worshipping came in. They felt that idols were the powers to whom to turn to. So this king debated with Ibrahim about who should be the Rabb. An atahu Allahul mulka. Though God is the one who gave the kingdom to that king. Even evil kings, they get their kingdom. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. You are the one who gives mulk and kingdom. You are not only Maliki Yawmiddin. You are not only the king, but you are the owner of the kingdom. And you grant it to whosoever you will. Of course, if it's given to anyone, the choice is given. Either use it correctly or abuse it, and you will be taken to account. لِنَنْظُرَ كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ. We are watching how you dispense and how you execute this blessing and power that has been given to you. So this king, he argued, إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. Ibrahim said, you don't qualify as the Rabb, or the idols don't qualify as the Rabb, because the true Rabb is the one who gives life and who takes away life. He has total control over all aspects of the life of the created being. Qala, Nimrud uses logic now, which seems to convince the people, wow, he is so true. Qala, he said, Ana uhyi wa umit. I'm the one who gives life, and I'm the one who takes away life. And then the hadith says, he ordered 2 prisoners to be brought. On one prisoner, he passed the sentence, he should be executed. On the other prisoner, he says, no, he is absolved, and he should stay alive. I'm the one who gives life. I'm the one who takes away life. The Quran stops here and then continues with another debate. But what is important is Ibrahim alayhi salam picks up the fallacy in that argument. The fallacy of the argument of the king was that I also can give life and I can also take away life. But excuse me, you're fooling people, aren't you? What you can give and what you can take away is just superficial, is artificial. You make a sentence and a decree which has to be executed. What Ibrahim alayhi salam is talking about is not this. He's talking about actual life from the earth and the final death. There may be cases where a person thinks he is going to die but remains alive, and a person who thinks he will not die and he dies. So for example, in Surah Ali Imran chapter 3, in Surah Ahzab chapter 33, Allah gives the example. There are some people when they are being summoned to come and join the war effort to defend the Muslim state when it was being attacked during the Prophet's time, they said, we can't go, we have this excuse or that excuse. Allah exposes there is no genuine excuse. The problem is you're afraid of death. But let me tell you, Allah says, not everybody who goes to the war field and to the battlefield will die. And not everybody who stays back home will remain alive. Sababu, the person who gives life and takes away life, is not the battlefield, is not the enemy, is not even yourself. How many people try to commit suicide and fail? Life is, how many people get married and want a child, don't get a child? Life is not in our hands. How many people are not married, don't want a child, get a child? Whole life is not in our hands. Ibrahim alayhi salam was saying, Rabbi is the one who yuhyi wa yumit. Absolute power to give life and to take away life is in his hands. The king twists the logic and he uses artificial and superficial giving and taking away of life to say, you see, I also have the same powers. So Ibrahim alayhi salam changes his argument and he says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ فَأْتِ بِهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. What I meant is, not Rabb is the one who created once and left the creation. Yuhyi, who continuously gives life, moment by moment. Every moment we are alive, we're getting new life. Our cells and tissues are growing. Every moment, life comes. Every moment, some cells are dying, some tissues are dying, some organs may be failing gradually. It's a momentary, continuous process of life from Him and Him alone. In the dua of Jawshan Kabir, we are taught to say, Ya Hayyan qabla kulli hay, Ya Hayyan ba'da kulli hay, Ya Hayyu alladhi la yamut, Ya Hayyu alladhi la yahtaju ila hay, Ya Hayyu alladhi yarzuqu kulla hay. These 10 descriptions about the absolute giver of life. This is what Ibrahim alayhi salam meant when he said, that is my Rabb. So if God has total control over life, but you're twisting the logic, you're trying to fool the masses, okay, my God who has total control over every moment of life and death also controls all other aspects of the governing of the universe. For example, the sun and the moon and the stars. So let's take the sun, the most obvious celestial body. The sun rises from the east and sets in the west. Why don't you reverse the process? فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. The one who tried to deny the truth and to create doubts and to distort and twist the logic, he was caught. Who taught people to be critical in the claims that are being made, especially by people in power? Ibrahim alayhi salam. And such debates and arguments are quoted again and again in the Quran from Ibrahim alayhi salam. The founder of logic is not Aristoteles. Well, before Aristoteles there was somebody else. And that's what Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam reminds us in Nahjul Balagha, that one of the reasons Anbiya are sent is to make the aql grow and flourish and blossom. You'll teach them the system of logical, rational, proper thinking. Or take another example. Surah Mubarakah Anbiya. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ. Ayah number 51 onwards. And we are the ones who gave Ibrahim alayhi salam that level of maturity in thinking, in wisdom, in intellectual and rational argumentation and debate. Min qablu, even before. So the ayah previous to that is talking about Musa alayhi salam. Even before Musa, Ibrahim had already been raised to that level. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. But if we have chosen him to represent us, we know exactly what qualifies him, and therefore we make the right choice based on merit. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ. Look at the argument he had with his father. Ab in the Quran, the translators say it's the father. But Ab in Arabic doesn't only mean the father, can also mean the grandfather. Can also mean the uncle. Can also mean the guardian, can also mean the foster father. So you have to judge from the context who is intended here by the word ab, not necessarily the biological father who gives birth. That is walid, not ab in Arabic. رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. Surah Ibrahim, the dua of Ibrahim, towards the end of his life. He makes this dua, oh Allah, forgive me and my biological father, my walid. But Ibrahim had been warned, dare you not ask me to give forgiveness to the mushrik. Initially, Ibrahim a.s. tells, إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ سَأَسْتَغْفِرُ لَكَ, I'll pray for your forgiveness. Hoping that Azar will change and accept Tawheed, especially after the arguments given to him. But he doesn't. Once Azar shows he's a die-hard, lifelong mushrik, he's never going to give up his shirk, that's when Ibrahim says, no, I've got nothing to do with you now. That was his father? No, it wasn't his father. It was uncle or foster father. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ, he told his qawm, Ibrahim, the people of Babylon, مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلِ, what are these images and these statues and these sculptures that you have made with your own hands? الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ, you are totally devoted to them. Morning and evening you just come and pay respect and adore them and worship them. I'm sure you see communities, locally and globally, they've got temples and they've got idols, and morning and evening they go and adore and show their devotion. Same thing was happening in the time of Ibrahim a.s. Why do you do this? So they said that قالوا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا لَهَا عَابِدِينَ. Why do you ask us? It's very natural. Of course we should pay devotion to these idols. Our great people in the community, our forefathers and our elders, they did it. They must have been right. Nothing happened to them. Education system. What values do you transfer from the older to the newer generation? Should the new generation blindly accept or critically question the validity of what they are being taught? Ibrahim a.s. says, excuse me, I disagree with this answer of yours. So you're telling me, but this is the education system, this is what our teachers told us and our preachers told us and our parents told us. قَالَ لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Sorry, you're all wrong. You and your forefathers, with all due respect. Kwanini, there is no logic, because if you had a logic, you would have given me the answer. But you have no logic except for the fact, this is how we were taught. This is how things are supposed to be. They were shocked. What do you mean? So you want us to close down the school which taught us all these things? قالوا أجئتنا بالحق. Is this some new thing we didn't know about? أم أنت من اللاعبين. You're joking with us, aren't you? They couldn't believe. The whole culture, the whole education system is called into question by the critical debater and thinker Ibrahim a.s. He was a young man. قال, oh yes, absolutely, I disagree with your education system and your cultural system. قال بل, the reality is, ربكم, the one who created you and governs you and controls you and supervises you and nourishes you and cherishes you and guards you and protects you and gives you life and gives you death. ربكم رب السماوات والأرض. You doubt the power of such a Rabb? Look at the heavens and the earth. Show me any other power who can create the heavens and the earth. Logic. الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين. Nashuhudiyya, and I have evidence and rational proof for what I'm saying. So, they had no answer. Ibrahim a.s. says, they have no logic and they are questioning me. They don't want to answer me. How to awaken them? تَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. I have a plan to awaken you. There is a day of festival. You come and cook all the nice food. You come and leave it in the temple so that it should be blessed by the idols. Then you go out of the city for your festivity, then you'll come back into the city and then you'll eat the blessed food. When you go out, I go in to the temple. So, فَجَعَلَهُمْ Ibrahim alayhi salam enters the temple. فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا. He goes and smashes all the idols except for one. إِلَّا كَبِيرًا. Except the big one. MashaAllah, you're very big. Sorry, to me you're not big. Kabiran, not li, lahum. For those worshippers you are great. To me you're not great. Allahu Akbar. To me there is only one great power. Kabiran lahum la'allahum ilayhi yarji'un. Perhaps when they see this scenario, they'll wake up. When they returned, they came and asked, qalu, they came back happily. They want to go to the temple now to enjoy the niyaz, which has been blessed. قالوا من فعل بآلهتنا. Goodness, all idols smashed. Who has done this? He must be an evil person. إنه لمن الظالمين. There is no bigger zalim than this one, whoever did it. So who is it? Who is it? Everybody said, what do you mean? We don't know. All of us were out. But we know there's a young man. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. He used to mention some things about the idols, and we were a bit worried what he's commenting about the idols. قالوا فأتوا به. Aha, there is this young man. Summon him. على أعين الناس. In front of everybody. Here in the temple, we will have a court case to adjudicate him and prosecute him. لعلهم يشهدون. And we want shuhudi. You witness. We're going to tamhoji. We will prosecute him for the evil that he has done. Ibrahim has to show he's the father of logic. قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم. Be honest with us. Admit, you're the one who did this. All these idols smashed. قال بل فعله. You know who did it? فعله كبيرهم. The big one amongst them, he is the one who did it. Where? Oh, they were there in the temple. No, كبيرهم هذا, this one. The court case took place in the temple. This one here, the big one, his biggest, he's the one who did it. فَاسْأَلُوهُمْ. You don't trust me? Ask this fallen idol and that one and that one. Ask them. فَاسْأَلُوهُمْ. Who smashed you? إِن كَانُوا يَنْطِقُونَ. Of course, if they can speak to you. No. They are dumbfounded. فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They started scratching their heads. Anasema ukweli. فَقَالُوا إِنَّكُمْ أَنْتُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. No, the one who smashed the idols wasn't the zalim. We are the zalim. We did the wrong things in our life. They admitted the truth. The blindness they had, suddenly the curtain was lifted. By who? The father of logic. That's how powerful the human being has been created, with the power of aql. Though it is clouded, but the cloud can be lifted by powerful logic. We don't know how? Let's learn from the father of logic. Let's learn from the Anbiya alayhimus salam. They have been sent for this purpose. However, the problem is habitual mental systems of thinking. They tend not to go away easily. So immediately the Quran says, ثُمَّ نُكِسُ عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِمْ. Then suddenly nukis, nakas. You know the merry-go-round. In Arabic, the merry-go-round is known as nakasa. Mara you're down, mara you go up. Mara you're up, you go down. So suddenly what was up came down. The idol was supposed to be the real God, came down, he is unreal. But suddenly nakasa, they flipped again. Suddenly they said, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا هَؤُلَاءِ يَنْطِقُونَ. Ibrahim, of course you know that the idols who are smashed cannot speak. Okay, so you seem not to accept that logic. Can I ask you another question? Ibrahim alayhi salam says, قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم. How can you worship and adore and seek help and be afraid of a power that cannot harm you or give you any benefit? Kwa nini? Kwa sababu the idol could not even protect itself. The idol is powerless. The idol is senseless. It can't even speak to you when you need it to speak the truth. Who did that? But they didn't accept it. They were blinded. So Ibrahim alayhi salam says, Uffin lakum. The only thing I can say is, woe be to this aql which wakes up temporarily and then goes back to sleep. Uffin lakum walima ta'buduna min dunillah. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. So now they had no answer to the logic. The only logic which tyrants have when they lose the argument is to use force. Nimrud says, حَرِّقُوهُ, burn him up in the worst of possible ways. وَانصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ فَاعِلِينَ. A huge fire was made, the fire where nobody could even go near. They had to use a catapult to hurl him into the center of the fire, and Allah orders the fire. Fire burns by God's command. Water flows by God's command. Water is told no, the river will stop flowing, the sea will stop flowing. A road will be created in between. The water will be told reflow, and the road will disappear. And that's how Musa alayhi salam was saved. Fire burns when Allah orders it. Fire stops burning when Allah orders it. Ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. The whole civilization of Babylon was shaken. The king had no argument. The community had no argument. That great advisor to the king, Azar, had no answer to Ibrahim. And then when they tried to suppress him and force him into silence, they lost. This news spread like a bomb blast to all the cities around. How did Ibrahim win? What is the logic of this man? We need to learn this logic. Let's pray to Allah to get tawfiq, to be able to recite the Quran in a reflective way, to be able to reform ourselves and then to be able to transform ourselves. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.